Hi, Ben Johnson here from LaunchCopyGurus.com, and today we're pulling back the curtain to expose a marketing tactic that's been used to stir controversy, pique curiosity, and help marketers rake in millions for years. We call this the X Factor, the man in the shadows concept, and it's a powerful intrigue hook when used correctly. The most recent example is online video guru Mike Koenigs' latest launch, and as you can see here in this screenshot from the pre-launch, he's holding a webinar with someone he's calling only Mr. X, or the $50 million man. He's dropping hints about his identity and pretty compelling tidbits of social proof, like the fact that Scorsese and DiCaprio are making a movie about his life, and he's made $50 million in sales without really selling. This mystery man X Factor can act as an incredibly strong hook by building up curiosity and suspense, or just by creating the sense that you're getting insider info other people don't have access to. Even something so underground, Mr. X could get in trouble for letting you know about it. The same X Factor strategy has been used in two other recent launches. The Magic Bullet system, where Amish Shah and Frank Kern interviewed an underground marketer they codenamed Jay Styles and interviewed him about his pay-per-click techniques during pre-launch, and the Arbitrage Conspiracy, where the identity of Eamon, the CPA marketing wizard who claimed to be making an incredible $100,000 a day, was deliberately left vague through the whole launch. Well-known gurus talked about meeting him, but never revealed his name. Going back a few years, the Rich Jerk took a similar approach by making Kelly Felix, the marketer behind that top-selling ClickBank product, into a cartoon character, and that debate about whether the person behind the mask is real or not and the secret identity of the marketer can add fuel to the buzz about the product, and at the same time it channels skepticism away from the product and turns it into a conversation about who this Mr. X really is. Smart marketers have been using this Mr. X strategy for decades, all the way back to Jay Abraham, who used the Mr. X hook for a famous ad promoting a book about a former student who had supposedly stolen his best marketing secrets and then managed to explain them even better than Jay himself had ever done. And Gary Halbert, who used the technique in an ad he wrote about his secret blackjack system. The hook works particularly well for ads about info the powers that be don't want you to know about, and keeping Mr. X under wraps neatly sidesteps the question of why someone would risk revealing this information if it could get them into hot water, with the big casinos in this case. For more great examples of this X Factor at work, here's an ad written 50 years ago by a mail-order entrepreneur named Bud Weckesser. He sold a couple of different BizOp courses that sold almost as many copies as Joe Carbo's Lazy Man's Way to Riches, and this ad, headlined The $220,000 Man, apparently pulled very well. The identity of the $220,000 man is never revealed, but the involvement device of asking the readers to prove this method to themselves by trying this test puts prospects right in the $220,000 man's shoes. He's setting the reader up to identify with the $220,000 man, and that mystery factor, the fact that he doesn't have a name, almost makes him more relatable, makes it easier for the reader to become the $220,000 man in the way you might relate to a compelling character in a novel. The $220,000 man can't be questioned. He's real in the same way the man in the Hathaway shirt is real. Ask yourself, would a testimonial from John S. from Cleveland saying he had made $220,000 with this system have been as believable? One of the most successful Mr. X ads was for the Forex market, written by James Sheridan for Agora. This ad was so successful Gary Halbert devoted a whole issue of his newsletter to it. The whistleblower appeal works very well in markets where people have become suspicious of big-name experts. An anonymous Mr. X can be both a guru and a kind of underdog everyman at the same time. Even though anonymity isn't usually associated with trust, in this case, Mr. X somehow pulls off greater perceived credibility because his anonymity means he can't be called out for working an angle or having an ulterior motive, and because he's intentionally going out of his way to avoid the spotlight rather than calling attention to himself. This kind of whistleblower Mr. X hook, when it's done well, manages to tap into a fascination we have with whistleblowers and anonymous tipsters, which is a real American symbol. It follows from the idea that anonymity is a weapon the common man can use to fight back against people in power, the gurus, the fat cats, the politicians, in the same way the Founding Fathers published anonymous broadsides signed with nicknames like Publius and a federal farmer to piss off King George during the Revolution. And the Mr. X idea can be effective even when the identity of the man behind the curtain is revealed further down in the ad. In these two famous headlines by John Carlton, the mysterious human computer and the short, desperate nerd from Pomona are both identified by name in the body copy, but the headlines still have that man of mystery appeal to them that stokes curiosity, and at the same time, like the other Mr. X ads I pointed out, they also counter the "yeah, I've seen that before" objection, because these are underground guys who have stayed off the radar, either deliberately or because they're just regular guys who shy away from publicity or haven't made the news. So right away you know you haven't seen anything like this before. So all this leaves two questions. One, is all this Mr. X anonymity ethical? And two, how well does it really work? The ethical question is murky because just like any direct response technique, it can be used for good or evil depending on the marketer's intentions. But if it's used the way it's supposed to be used, as a way to build suspense and make a big promise in a market with a lot of hyped up claims in it more relatable and more universal, then paying that mystery off with a big reveal that lives up to the promise, then I think it's perfectly ethical to use. And does it work? That's answered just by looking at the marketers who have used it, everyone from Gary Halbert and Jay Abraham all the way up to Mike Koenigs. And when it's pulled off right, it can really lead to a blockbuster success. Thanks for watching, and we've only just scratched the surface on this topic, so please share any examples or thoughts on this in the comments.